Welcome to the VectorVest special presentation, this week titled Top VST Stocks, Can It Get Any Better? My name is Todd Shaffer, Manager of Research for VectorVest, and I'll be your presenter this evening. Top VST stocks showcase the best combinations of upside potential, safety, and price trend. VST put VectorVest on the map, and there's the key. This approach is original to Dr. DeLito from VectorVest's origins. Top VST stocks are perennial performers, and today's no different, as I will demonstrate. So where do you find them? Well, it couldn't be easier. The homepage and stock viewer. Let's take a look. In our default layout of the homepage of VectorVest, you can see we have a quick list gadget of the top VST stocks. Of course, these are simply the top 5 of a much more extensive list. If we go into the stock viewer, we'll go on the Viewers tab to the Stock Viewer, and here we have a giant spreadsheet of all 8,652 stocks that are in the VectorVest US database, and they're sorted not alphabetically, not by price, not by market cap, but by VST. So we're bringing to the top of the list the stocks that have the strongest combination of relative value, relative safety, and relative timing. Now let me share some resources with you, particularly if you're new to VectorVest. If I right-click on the stock, I can look at the full stock analysis report for the highlighted stock. That opens a window, and while this is the report for Louisiana Pacific, if I scroll down, I'll see the definition for all of the indicators within the stock viewer. And so scrolling back to the VST, we see that VST is the master indicator for ranking every stock in the VectorVest database. We see how LPX is rated. VST is computed from the square root of a weighted sum of the squares of RV, RS, and RT. Stocks with the highest VST ratings have the best combinations of value, safety, and timing. A nice balanced approach. Now in this presentation, we're also going to talk about Comfort Index. It's an indicator which reflects a stock's ability to resist severe and/or lengthy price declines. It's based solely upon the stock's long-term price history, so it's a price-driven indicator. We'll also look at earnings performance. Our earnings per share analysis is a little bit different from what you might be used to, in that our EPS stands for a leading 12 months earnings per share. We determine this forecast from a combination of recent earnings performance and traditional fiscal and/or calendar year earnings forecasts. So we include forecasts in our earnings number as well as historical performance. We also calculate the growth rate of those earnings on a 1 to 3 year forecasted basis and annualize it in a % per year. So there's a quick little background on some of the indicators we'll talk about here in just a moment. I also wanted to give you 2 resources on both our Welcome tab. In the Build a Watch List tutorial, we'll use that VST system to analyze stocks that you're familiar with. And also on our Training tab, the 30-second stock analysis system goes through the VST system in our Quick Start course. But let me set the table for our presentation tonight by going to the VectorVest views. And notice I've picked up an essay from 2004 written by Dr. DeLito titled VectorVest Simple. And I'd like you to note that this essay is from 17 years ago, and it's still working today. And in it he wrote, VectorVest is designed to bring the best stocks to your attention with a single click of a mouse. The best stocks, according to VectorVest, are those ranked highest by VST Vector. On any given day, they have the best combination of value, safety, and timing of all the stocks in the database. So what could be simpler than clicking on Stock Viewer and looking at the top stocks ranked by VST Vector? Well, let's do that. Let's go back to the Stock Viewer. I'll close our toolbar so we have more data on the screen. Here we're looking at the top 20 VST stocks on the 8th of April at the close. And I'd have you notice the RV scores, all well above 1. The RS scores, all well above 1 with the possible exception here of US Global. Solid fundamentals, though, on both an RV and RS basis of these top VST stocks, and all of them in nice, strong uptrends with RT values well above 1. All of them buy rated in the VectorVest system, They're all making money and they have double-digit growth rates for those earnings. So some really strong candidates have percolated to the top of the VST list. So the numbers tell the story of the stock, but if you look at their price chart, that shows you their DNA. Let's take a look. I'm going to click Graph All. And we'll bring up a stock graph using the VectorVest simple layout. And yes, of course, that name was on purpose. We're looking at a 1-year time frame. On the graph, we have the price of the stock, the VectorVest stop price, RT, and earnings per share. I want to begin our analysis by simply looking at price, earnings, and I'm going to put value on the graph as well. What we're looking for in a nutshell is we're looking for bottom left to upper right performance, smooth and steady. The smoother and steadier, the better. We're looking for stocks whose performance has persistently been improving over the past year. So let's start with price, and we see that LPX price is indeed moving steadily higher. It had a little consolidation period here in the fall of last year, as did the market. But as the market started to rally, so did the stock. But notice we also don't have big gyrations in price. We call that the sleep at night factor. The stock steadily moves higher without a lot of big whipsaws or big movements that give you anxiety as an investor. Notice the earnings per share is also moving steadily from lower left to upper right. They're consistently making more and more money, driving the valuation of the company higher, steadily higher from lower left to upper right. You might also notice that we crossed from being overvalued, where price was above our valuation, to being undervalued in that consolidation. Our preference is to buy stocks that are undervalued, although we recognize that different market periods present different opportunities, and there may be a time to buy glamour stocks when stocks that are overvalued that have fundamental strength that warrant paying a premium to be in the stock. But now let's have a little fun. We've discussed what we're looking for in these charts. I want to go through the next 19 charts, but only give you a couple seconds to decide whether or not you like the patterns for both, particularly price and earnings. Remember, bottom left, upper right, smoother the better. You either like it or you don't. If you like it, write down the symbol and do some more exploring. If you don't like it, let it go, right? Some will be better than others. So I really want you to just rely on your initial instinctive response to the graph pattern. Our eyes are very good at recognizing patterns, and you'll find you have an instinctive response to the stock if you'll just listen to it. So to help you do that, 3 seconds. All right, so let's move through these next 19 stocks. Next up, UFPI 2, 3. LGIH 2, 3. DHI 2, 3. WSM 2, 3. GROW 2, 3. ARCB 2, 3. SAM 2, 3. TFII 2, 3. FCNCA 2, 3. IMPUY 2, 3. KLIC 2, 3. LEN 2, 3. LENB 2, 3. LOW 2, 3. WFG 2, 3. RCKY 2, 3. ABG 2, 3. AMKR 2, 3. CTB 2, 3. Pencils down. So I'm guessing in that demonstration you found several stocks whose price and earnings patterns you liked. And the first thing I'd like to do is just pause and reflect on how simple that was. We went through 20 stocks in a minute. I'd also have you reflect on the quality and the caliber of those stocks. That persistent price rise makes them fantastic, prudent candidates. Now, as good as those candidates are, you may need to cull the list from multiple candidates to just a few selections. So, of course, you can look at the VectorVest analysis, and perhaps dividend performance is important for you, so you want to confirm there's a dividend and see our dividend analysis in the YSG system. But we can also do that same task graphically. So again, let me open their graphs. And let's add to our setup earnings growth rate. So under capital appreciation, we'll click growth rate. That adds it to the parameter list, and by checking the box, we'll add it to the graph. I'm going to take off value just so we get a little bit more room. So we know all of these top VST stocks had double-digit growth rates. But by now graphing their growth rate, we can see if they're still in the acceleration phase of that growth. And so you might favor companies whose earnings are steadily rising and they're continuing to rise at a faster rate. So as you scroll through again on a very simple basis, you can confirm that these earnings growth rates are continuing to improve. And again, what a great list of candidates we have here. Broadly, all of them having continued earnings growth rates. Now let's reset the deck and reopen graphs for these top 20 again. And let's focus on the price action of these stocks. So two indicators that are very helpful are RT, and let's add to our parameter list Comfort Index. And we'll take off the earnings performance and the value for the sake of this presentation. Let's focus first on the RT performance in relation to the price performance of the stock. So as we know, RT is the short-term price trend analysis of the price movement, cast on a scale of 0 to 2, with 1 being neutral. So when the value is above 1, the price action, the price trend, is in uptrend. When the value is below 1, we're in downtrend. Of course, those trends can be strengthening or weakening as the value of RT is trending higher or lower within that band. So we see here on LPX that the trend changed from a weakening downtrend to an uptrend. Then the uptrend started to weaken as price flattened in this consolidation period, and the RT moved back toward 1, a more flat or non-trending analysis. But I'd also have you note that the RT value has stayed above 1 for the majority of time in this last 1-year look back. And you'll see stocks that exhibit that kind of behavior have high CI ratings. So if CI is the persistence of the price trend, we can look for CI ratings that are improving, trending higher, particularly when they're above 1 and positive. So let's quickly pass through our top 20 candidates again and look at their analysis for both RT and CI. Remember, we're going to favor stocks whose RT values are trending higher as well as their CI values. And we see pretty universally with high CI values for these top 20 top VST stocks, we have a pretty good list of candidates. So for me, I like to make multiple passes, whittling the list down to just my favorite candidates. And if you use that simple process, it's really hard to go wrong. If you like the graph, you probably have a good candidate. But of course, nothing goes up forever, so we have to manage our risk and manage our trades. Because top VST stocks have solid fundamentals and these persistently rising price patterns, we like to give them room to breathe. Let's open up the graph again. Here we're back to our VectorVest simple layout. Let's take off our T. And I'll resize earnings a little bit here. The VectorVest stop price is an adjusted 13-week moving average of the stock's price action. It's adjusted based on the fundamentals of the company. Companies that have strong fundamentals will actually move that stop price away from the price action to keep us in the stock longer, to be more resilient and allow for movement within the stock's price. Stocks that have weak fundamentals will actually move the stop price closer to the action to be more sensitive to an adverse move. But you can see on this one-year graph of LPX, it's done a pretty good job of keeping us on the right side of the price trend. So as we scroll through our candidates again, the VectorVest stop price is a very smart, seemingly intuitive method for managing risk in these top VST stocks. If you're a regular viewer of our daily color guard presentations, then I know you've heard us say a gazillion times that the biggest driver of stock price is broad market direction. So we just go with the flow. Buy rising stocks in rising markets, sell falling stocks in falling markets. So beyond which top VST stocks should I be buying, comes the first question, should I even be buying? Is the market rising? Well, the first place I'd look to answer that question is on our homepage and our color guard information. But we believe in a systematic approach to investing that answers three questions. When should I be buying? What should I be buying? And when should I sell? Well, we already know we're looking at top VST stocks in this example, but when should we be buying and when should we be selling? Well, in addition to the color guard, we also generate a series of market timing signals. Let's move back to a market timing graph. So here I've graphed just the price of the VectorVest composite over the last year, a 1-year time frame. These are daily candlesticks. So looking at this 1-year time frame, it's easy to see that the market has been broadly higher, a bullish bias and a good time to be buying stocks. But it has also had several points of consolidation, including our current time frame. Since we can't know when a pullback is going to turn into a correction, we like to buy stocks when the market is rising. On the bottom toolbar of the chart, we have all of our market timing signals available to you to overlay on the chart. So let's begin with our primary wave, our fastest timing signal. Because it's the fastest, it's the most sensitive to reversals in price action. Now, this isn't a market timing talk, but I do want you to notice how in periods of consolidation, look how many more signals we get on those reversals of the primary wave. Of course, when the market trends, these can be beautiful entry signals. The first signal you'll get when the trend extends. But just the sheer number of signals also implies a certain holding period. In other words, they'll signal the soonest, but they'll also reverse the most quickly. Our next market timing signal in terms of sensitivity builds on the primary wave. The green light buyer signal looks for this change in the price action week over week, but also looks for a green light in the price column of the color guard. So the green light buyer system actually has 3 states or conditions. The green light in the price column of the color guard. Neutral is anytime that light is not green, so it could be yellow or red. And the red triangle is our confirmed down call. So we still get in pretty early on the trend, but it also has this aspect of indicating a continuation of trend as we continue to generate green lights as the market extends in its trend. Of course, as Dr. DeLito has written, all green lights are not created equal, as eventually you'll get the last green light as the trend starts to roll over. So our next market timing signal confirms that we're still building momentum and nullifies any green lights when the RT is starting to fall. So we call that the green light buyer RT kicker signal. And note how the green lights disappear when the price action is slowing. There's also a version of this signal where we confirm red lights in the price column. We call that the combo. And now you can see confirmed green lights and confirmed red lights. Yellow circles then are anytime those conditions are not met. Our next timing signal, the DEW, much less sensitive, many fewer signals, although we do still pick up some oscillations in sideways market action, as is the case of any trend following signal. And finally, our confirmed calls are slowest to signal the change in reversal, but therefore also the most stable. So with this information in mind, remember the question we were trying to answer was, when should I be buying these top VST stocks? And how aggressively do I want to enter the market? Well, we have a tool in the VectorVest system called the backtester that can help us answer this question, and we're just going to study this last year time frame as an example. So I'll open the backtester, and to save time, you can see I've already run some tests, and what I did was I took a search from the VectorVest system called Top VST Stocks. So in Unisearch, in the Searches Prudent folder, is a search called Top VST Stocks, and what this looks for is stocks in the VectorVest system that are priced at least $1, have at least 100,000 shares of average volume. We eliminate the secondary exchanges. They're not contra ETFs. And we've sorted those by VST descending. So top VST stocks above $1 that have 100,000 shares of volume. Now, while we're going to choose stocks mechanically from the search results, we won't get the benefit of cherry picking. But this will give us some insights on how top VST stocks perform for these different market signals. So coming back to the back tester, here's my baseline search. I'm going to edit so you can see the settings. And I'll go to customize my trading system. So here, the market timing signal we're using is the confirmed call. The rules when the confirmed call is up, we'll use our top VST stocks search. We'll not use any stop criteria. We'll simply close the stocks. On a 10-stock portfolio, we'll close the stocks when the signal changes to a confirmed down. And one special note I always like to share, when you have the combination signals like the green light buyer, you want to make sure to change your settings so that if the signal goes from an up signal to a neutral signal back to up, we don't want to close all of the positions when you went from neutral back to up. So we're going to say don't close any open position when entering into an up situation, but when we do get the down signal, we will go to cash. So those are the simple rules, and if I resort the results by gain-loss, we'll see our top performer was the primary wave signal. Looking at the results, we see we ran it from the 8th of April of last year to current. We had 49.5% winning trades. Overall, the portfolio is up 77.78%. I charged myself $1 commission so I could see how much trading activity there was in the time frame. So 390 trades. The biggest pullback in the portfolio value pulled back 18%, and if I open up my graph, we can take a look at the equity curve. Now we know, of course, from point A to point B, we're 77.78% higher. But the equity curve shows us how we got there. And what I noticed right off the bat is that, yes, we put in a series of higher highs over the time frame, which is, of course, what we like to see. These flat lines in the equity curve are when the portfolio went back to cash, waiting for the next primary wave up signal. But I also noticed that in that early part of that year, when we went into that first consolidation, the portfolio actually pulled back, and this is where we experienced the biggest drawdown. Of course, it made up for that over time, but in the current time frame where the market's been moving sideways again, we really peaked in our performance at the beginning of February. So let's compare and contrast that performance with our second best performer, which was the RT Kicker combo. Here we had 60% winners. Gain was a little bit less at 73, almost 74%. We had only 80 trades, and our maximum drawdown fell from 18% to 11%. Again, looking at the equity curve, we have a nice stair-stepping equity curve. But I also note that it stayed above water through the entire testing period as it waited for stronger market trend to be developing before entering. It also had lower drawdown than the kicker because of the red lights. They triggered earlier exits during pullbacks, and it held on to those top VST stocks through the relatively minor pullbacks that were picked up by the primary wave. So, of course, these results are without any money management, but on a pure market timing basis, during this market period, my favorite timer is the RT Kicker combo. Of course, different market periods will perform differently. For my next step, I'm going to copy this back test because all of these tests were without any money management. So I'd like to get a feel for what kind of money management rules would optimize the performance of these stocks in this time frame. So we'll customize our trading system, and we'll come into our automation rules for the up, and we'll add our stop criteria. And the best tested combination that I ran across was a percentage gain loss of 50% on the gain side and 10% on the loss. So now instead of just holding to the market timing reversal signal, any stock that reaches a 50% gain will be closed, or if it falls to more than a 10% loss, it will be closed. But price can bounce anywhere between those two values, so we're giving it room to breathe. Now, a 49% gain could fall to a 10% loss in this scenario. But remember, we're also closing all of our trades on the down signal. And broadly, the price action of these top VST stocks is persistent with lower volatilities. So let's click Finish and Run. So using these rules, our percentage winners dropped to 51%, but our overall gain climbed to 81%. Our commissions went up a little bit higher, 124 trades as opposed to 80, but our drawdown also fell from 11% to 7%. And so now I have a trading system coming into focus. Now please remember, this example is only one of many approaches that may have worked in this time frame. My purpose in sharing it is to demonstrate how you can use the VectorVest tools to explore your trading ideas for any market condition. VectorVest is designed to bring the best stocks to your attention with a single click of the mouse, and it's hard to get any better than top VST stocks. Thanks for watching.